Did you know that every single thing in your world affects your energetic frequency? It can either affect it to be lower or it can affect it to be higher. Now, when your energetic frequency is lowered, it can make you more susceptible to menopause symptoms. So, we want to learn what kind of things can lower it and how you can combat that. Welcome to the Women Rock in Midlife podcast, soulful wellness to elevate your second act. You deserve to deeply love every moment of your life, living your best life with pure joy, optimal health and abundance, with the energy, time, and inner peace to savor experiences with your loved ones and with yourself. Hi, I'm Jen Kunkel. Join me on this soulful journey to complete wellness in midlife and beyond. Everything is energy. There's an energy that's attached to all matter. And actually, if you study some physics, you'll see that energy makes up matter. We are actually more empty space than we are solid. So today we're going to talk about some things that can lower your energetic frequency and some examples and how you want to stay away from these things and do high vibe stuff instead, right? First of all, here's something that a lot of us deal with, I'm sure. Doom and gloom news. There is so much of that in the world today. You've got social media, you've got the news stations. It just seems like there's so much doom and gloom and the world is terrible and it's horrible. This affects your energetic frequency. There have been studies done where a lot of people are thinking about and focusing on and putting out energy of high vibes, and they can actually measure this, like high vibes, positivity, gratitude, thankfulness, love, those kind of high vibration emotions. And they can actually scientifically measure a difference in the energy fields. That's not a rabbit hole I want to go too deep in this episode but I just want to mention it so you know I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. It has evidence-based backing. You can even think about it in your own life. Think about when you see that kind of news, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel expansive and light and airy and free and happy? Or does it make you feel like heavy and dense and clenched up and stressed out? And, you probably physically move into this tighter ball. Like you can feel your muscles contracting and not in a good way. You can feel yourself tensing up. You can feel that stress holding in your body, like physically. Everything feels heavy and dark. I have a friend who sends me links, maybe sometimes a few times a week, sometimes not so much. But it's like, you got to see this, we're doomed, etc., etc. And to be honest, I used to get sucked into it too. I would share stuff like that. And I'd find myself feeling helpless and it would really get me down. I would feel that heavy, weighed down feeling. And now, I'm not sticking my head in the sand or anything. I'm just noticing that I see a lot of repetition year after year after year after year after year after year, saying the same kind of stuff. And it's almost like the boy who cried wolf syndrome is going on. People are afraid of and worrying about things that never come to fruition. Or maybe they do, but they're not as bad as they say they will be. Or even a quick little search on the web will show me, this isn't even about how they're presenting it. It's been spun to create fear and worry. So sometimes, if I do see something concerning, I'll just do a quick web search and I find that it's really not that big of a deal in the first place. But even if there is evidence of something, or usually it's all just rumor, there's no basis for it, or there's weak basis for it, or whatever, I choose to focus on the things that I can control. I have this attitude that no matter what, I'm going to make my life the most positive possible. Yeah, I'm going to be prepared. I develop skills all the time so that I can be prepared. I mean, you can't be prepared for everything. Anyways, so I'm mostly focused on being present in the actual moment and not worried about a possible moment that might never happen. I'm certainly not obsessed with it. And I feel so much lighter, so much freer, so much happier. And guess what? The world hasn't ended. And honestly, if the world does end, I guess we're not really going to be here to notice anyway, right? Here's a few other things that can do the same thing. Junky food. Now, that's kind of a loaded way to say that because I have found that people's definitions of what's junky food varies drastically. I hear people say, like, for example, my mom eats pretty healthy. She talks about how healthy she eats, and other people say, yeah, she eats real healthy. Well, when I'm around her a lot, I can see that she doesn't really stick to it consistently. She did for a while after she had a heart attack. She was very diligent. As far as I know, she didn't put one bite of food into her mouth that wasn't aligned with the protocol that she was having because she didn't want to take the medications. So she was very stringent with managing her situation with diet. And I never saw her put one unhealthy thing in her mouth during that time. But now, some things will slip in. Maybe there's a candy bar in the freezer, bacon. And I know different people have different viewpoints on what's healthy and what's not. Butter, sour cream, some cheese. To me, someone eating healthy, really heart healthy, is not eating those kinds of things. They're not eating butter and sour cream and cheese and bacon. Also, there's a lot of conflicting information out there. I think it's getting even worse about what healthy actually is. But when I say junky food, I'm not even talking about that. That's the other thing. My mom eats bottled salad dressings and some packaged foods and canned stuff. And sometimes, pre-prepared meals. And some of those things, a lot of those things have a lot of preservatives in them, a lot of sodium, a lot of ingredients that you can't pronounce, which I'm never a fan of, artificial colors or artificial flavors and natural flavors. I know natural flavors sounds like it would be healthy, right? It could be, but it's not necessarily. So I try to stay away from all of that stuff as much as possible and make dressings from scratch, for example. So when I say junky food, mostly what I mean is anything packaged and processed that has extra ingredients. And there's different levels of processed. Like highly processed is white flour, white rice. A lot of people think even unhealthy food is a potato. I'm not on that boat right there. Not at all. A potato is totally natural. It's not unhealthy at all. I'm more about balance, about closer to whole, and not eating things that could be considered chemicals in your food, right? Having the chemically processed ingredients, synthetic. I mean, I can say any word and someone will come back with, well, technically this is synthetic, or technically everything's synthetic, or technically nothing's synthetic. There's always a response by somebody, right? The closer to whole your food is, the way that it's natural and grown, the higher the energetic frequency is. And the more man-made, processed, pseudo food ingredients that are in your food, the lower the energetic frequency. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, some people might argue that animal products have a low frequency because it's an animal. I don't know. I've never measured it. Now that I think of it, might be something interesting to take a look at. Chemicals, low frequency. Grow it in the ground, high frequency. We'll go with that. Animal foods, maybe we need to take a look at that and determine that. I don't know everything. We'll check it out. Another thing that can lower your frequency, This is stuff about mindset and the way you approach life and your philosophy about life. A couple of things here. One, trying to control everything. You want to be in control of everything. Guess what? You're lowering your frequency because you're not able to control things outside of yourself, but you are able to control your response to it. Now, when you want to control it and you get upset if it doesn't go the way that you think it needs to go, you're going to create stress. You're going to lower your frequency. And guess what? That could impact your menopause symptoms. Oh, I want to go back to the food thing too. One of the reasons that these chemicals lower your frequency is, well, first of all, they're not like the ingredients that sound like chemical names, for example, that are away from the whole version of the food, the whole natural version of the food, is because some of them can actually affect your endocrine system, which is the system that manufactures your hormones. So your hormones get out of balance. I digressed for a moment. All right, let's get back to trying to control everything and stressing yourself out when you are not able to do that. You're not going to be able to control how other people behave, how they talk, what they do. You can, even like with expressing boundaries, for example, with people close to you. I've seen some people who go from not expressing boundaries to expressing them and getting very frustrated that people don't respond immediately. This is kind of another topic, but it is part of trying to control everything. So you suddenly decide I'm going to have boundaries and you tell people about them. And they're very used to you not having the boundaries, so they don't just respond the way you want them to immediately. It's natural. Okay, so it's a good idea if you don't want to stress yourself out about it to give them some time to adapt. Just keep reminding them, oh, remember I said I'm not going to do this anymore, or whatever the case may be. And gently remind them, have some compassion for them, even though it seems like that's unfair because you feel like they've been stepping on your boundaries for so long, but you haven't expressed to them. It's kind of an ebb and flow. I'm not saying you have to do whatever it is or put up with whatever it is. But don't stress yourself out getting mad because they didn't change after you told them one time, after years, maybe decades of them behaving this other way. Give them a chance, and don't stress yourself out about it for sure, because that's going to lower your frequency. Trying to control traffic, getting stressed out in traffic. I mean, there's not a lot you can do about the traffic, so go with the flow, and your frequency is going to be higher. Think of things to be grateful for. When you're in these situations where you start to get stressed out because things aren't going the way you want them to be, and you have a tendency to want to control the situations, start thinking of things you can be grateful for. Start thinking about what's going right and focus on that. And you actually might find that when you start shifting that energy, the situation actually does start to change. And you're controlling it kind of in a different way. You're controlling it by letting go, if that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, that's okay. Just don't stress out. Here's something that's sort of related, maybe kind of the flip side. Energy vampires. Energy vampires will lower your energetic frequency because they like to suck energy. They like to suck the joy out of things. Maybe they are stuck in trying to control everything and they're pissed off because it's not going the way they wanted it to go. There's a lot of different ways you can deal with energy vampires. I'm not going to go into them. You can just get away from them. I don't suggest you try to talk to them, not while they're in the moment, that's for sure. Maybe later. Don't get sucked into it. Don't engage as much as possible. And, just focus on raising your own frequency. Focus on the joy. Create like an energetic boundary. This is where if somebody's really like in a toxic state and being an energy vampire, it might be really hard for you to set any kind of boundary. The best thing is just to disengage, at least for a while, until their energy calms down. There's all different kinds of energy vampires, so it's totally dependent on the individual situation. But that person that sucks the joy out of things, or there's a lot of drama, or they get overly mad for the situation. It probably is something where they're trying to control they're trying to control the situation. But don't try to educate them in the moment, because they're not going to be in a place where they can listen. They're not going to be in a space where it's going to be productive. You're just going to end up getting sucked into their fangs, into their energy fangs, and having your energy drained. So disengage as much and as quickly as you possibly can. That's really the one-stop shop solution for dealing with an energy vampire in the moment. Now, this doesn't mean that person is a bad person or they're a toxic person. They could just be having a moment. They might have moments often, and maybe you can talk to them at a different time when they're more receptive to hearing you. And maybe not. Everyone's different. Okay. Next thing, music. Music has a huge impact on your energy. Do you ever notice when certain music on, the energy and the mood of the vibe of your space totally can change? So pay attention to the music that you put on, the lyrics, the beat, and how it actually makes you feel. Like, is it heavy and dark? Is it uplifting? Is it upbeat? And this could be a very personal thing in a lot of ways. With music, just pay attention to what makes you feel good and light and high vibe, and what's maybe taking you down a different path. I mean, there's some angry music, there's depressing music, there's uplifting music, there's fun music, there's disrespectful, maybe not great vibe music. Pay attention to the music that you're listening to. Pay attention to everything that is going into your energetic field, even your clothes. Pay attention to how your clothes make you feel. Like, are you wearing a fabric that's kind of itchy and annoying? That's going to lower your frequency. Natural fibers are supposedly having more energy, higher vibe energy too. So pay attention to the clothes you're wearing. Pay attention to the people you're around, the music you're listening to, the things you're reading, the things you're watching on TV, the news that you're allowing into your space. Pay attention to all of it, because when your energetic frequency is higher, you are going to naturally feel better. All right, thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.